Good evening and welcome once again to another Cleveland Public Library, the Next 400 digital discussion panel. Chris Tanaka from 19 News, your moderator, as always. It is graduation season. Have you seen the students walking in their caps and gowns? What a great time to be talking about education, uplift, and great utility for students and families as they navigate the post-secondary education world. It can be overwhelming, it can be confusing, and a lot of times we step into this world uninformed because there's so much to learn. Well, tonight we hope family members can sit around, gather, and watch this together, take notes as good students do, because we have two exceptional guests who really have decades of wisdom and practice in the educational field who are ready and willing to share with you. I would love to introduce first, Mr. Anthony Brown. He's the president of the National Alumni Council of the United Negro College Fund, proudly repping the colors of his alma mater, Bethune-Cookman. And Ms. Jowan Smith, you may have read some of her works. She's a CEO, she's an author, and educational consultant. They both have a passion for improving the lives and educations of students. Thank you both so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Absolutely. So let's dive right in. Specifically, Jowan, let me ask you this: as you are a consultant for the education of young, exceptional Black students, what are the specific challenges Black students face today in moving on from the structured environment of high school into this nebulous world of kind of picking and choosing their own way through this post-secondary educational process?
So we call it adulting. So we call it adulting. So just the basics of understanding finances, first of all, because we really don't talk about that. So helping them to understand which college choice and how it impacts the whole household. So usually you can look at it as picking the choices for this one student, but now, especially due to the coronavirus and the pandemic, it is all about the whole family. So how does this choice impact the whole house and your financials? So that's one thing. And another thing that a lot of the students that I've been working with lately is that test. The test is so challenging. And yes, a lot of schools have eliminated that testing requirement, but that still plays a big part when it comes to getting those scholarship dollars. So whereas we can kind of breathe a little bit and say, yeah, you can get into the school, but how can you pay to go there?
Yeah. Anthony, you're nodding knowingly.
Listen, because I not only do I work in this field, but I also was a parent of a student who went through this process some years ago, and I'm always working with families and students now, just trying to, like Jowan said, just trying to make sure they understand all their options and opportunities.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to how do I pay for this education? Oh my, OMG! Like I've been going through this world of education from kindergarten or pre-K to 12th grade. Now all of a sudden, it costs.
Yeah.
And where does this come from? And especially when, sometimes, we find students who wait until their senior year till they finally wake up and realize, oh, you mean if I had just done great in my academics from 9th grade to now, it will pay off. Not to say I still can't do something in 12th grade, but it's a little bit more work then.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
More work in.
So,
and I love the fact, and here I am, because I work with, mostly I work with historically Black housing universities. Like Jowan said, many of our HBCUs waive the test, the ACT and SAT, which is okay for admission. But when it came down to money for scholarship opportunities, then that test score, they'll look at that test score like, okay, well, that's how they start to filter out some of the students to say, okay, who can we now use as a qualifier because of that test score and or that GPA.
Yeah. So let me ask you this. With HBCUs, some HBCUs waiving those requirements, have you noticed, is there data to support that more students are bypassing those aptitude tests?
Well, there are a lot of students who took advantage, yes, because a lot of students took advantage because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
And not just being, they're not thinking that they were going to be academically sound. Because sometimes the test, and listen, we recognize the fact, especially in the African American community, we don't always test well. I'll be honest with you. We can have all the skill set, and but sometimes you'll get a question on the test like, well, what does this mean? Because I've never even experienced it, I've never seen it, I've never even lived it. To ask me a question about something that I don't know because I've never lived it. So in one respect, yes, waiving the test is a great thing, because I love the fact that many of our HBCUs look at the total student. They look at the holistic approach of the student, and look at the growth from 9th grade to 12th grade, or look at their skills and look at their other the other traits they may have. Maybe they sing, maybe they play a sport, and that talent can certainly get you in the door.
Sure.
Once you get in the door, you got to be able to still prove yourself and be able to show, okay, this is what we got to do.
So it sounds like this is a catch-22, Jowan, because if you need to take the test to get the eye of some of these, be it lenders or scholarship awarders, but there are structural inequities built into the tests themselves, what do you advise those students to do?
It's tough because on average, the average person on the ACT is only getting a 19. The perfect score is a 36. So if you're only averaging a 19, and for most of those scholarship opportunities, they're wanting you to at least have a 23. I always tell people, take that test as many times as you can, because you can get waivers from College Now. You can pay for it yourself. My daughter, she took the test 6 times. So if you get a school that will super score, that will help you out tremendously if you continue to try and take that test, because we can get you in, and getting you in is fine, but unless you can get that score, then it's kind of pointless. So I always suggest people go and try to take the impact class with College Now. So College Now has a program called Impact, and it's like a boot camp for the test. So I'm always pushing that for students.
Yeah, interesting. And what are the costs involved in this? When you say 6 times, then obviously the classes involved. There's some students, I'm sure, and some families that are already started hyperventilating at the prospect of the costs that start before college begins.
Well, a lot of schools, you can get waivers. So a lot of schools offer waivers. Some of those people, you can kind of go talk to your guidance counselor and see what kind of waiver they can come up with. And then you can also, like I said, you get a couple of, I don't know how many tests they do now for free, but they used to give them like 2 tests for free, the school paid for. So you take advantage of those. And if you don't get that score, I don't think they're that expensive now, because I know they offer virtual options for the test. So I would look at every option to be able to try and get the score, because a lot of people started to just get too relaxed when they said they were waiving that testing. They got real relaxed. And a lot of people say, well, I'm going to just take it one time and go about my day. But then you get that bill and it has no scholarship dollars because your test score doesn't match that GPA that they need to get those dollars.
Okay, so if I'm my 17-year-old self right now, Anthony, I feel like I'm already a little bit overwhelmed. Like, I got to go talk to my guidance counselor. I have to take tests multiple times. How can we make this a family exercise where students are, I guess, stepping into this world of advocating for themselves, but also getting that necessary emotional support from their parents who went to college in a different time in a different world?
Listen, Chris, that is an absolutely amazing question as we talk about preparing our families. Because, side note, I also, not only do I work with the United Negro College Fund, but I also work here in the district with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District in the Family and Community Engagement Office. So our role is to do exactly what you just said. So it's really trying to connect the dots, bringing in these presenters, these nonprofit organizations, these people like Jowan or other organizations who are helping families understand the total process from beginning to end, from freshman year to graduation day. What does this look, sound, and feel like? I love the fact, prior to the pandemic, CMSD was actually offering every 11th grader the opportunity to take the test the first time at no cost. So that way you can at least kind of get in there, get the nerves off, kind of get the test, see where you scored, and then from there you know how to prepare yourself the next time around. So by that point, 11th grade, you probably have already visited a college fair or two. You've already interacted with a couple of recruiters. So you kind of know what the expectations are for the institution. So it's great to be able to, for a family to start taking their young people, their scholars, to college fairs early. You'll start doing the research early. Don't wait until 12th grade.
Yeah.
November, December. That's what I mean. It's great to go, but that's when you're making your final decision. But I would always encourage families, do these field trips, do these college visits freshman year. So that way a student can already start to see and to start to visualize where they want to be 4 years from now, 5 years from now. So that way they can understand what is the expectation for this school, for this school, for this school. Even it means putting that expectation on your bathroom mirror or on your closet in your bedroom. That way you can always see this visual of, this is what I have to do to get to school, or what I have to do to be able to earn this scholarship, because you already are now, you're starting to plant the seeds freshman year. That means if I got to make sure I'm going to tutoring, if I got to be part of a mentoring program, if I got to be part of an after-school program that's going to help me academically, help me socially, help me emotionally, all of the things, all these things play a part. And so I think that, getting the family involved from day one, freshman year, and what does that really mean? Not just going to a parent, it's one thing to say, we're going to have a parent meeting just to have a parent meeting. But no, I want to make sure that we're being intentional about, we're bringing you parents in so we can talk about what does it mean to take care of your finances, and what does this mean about finances and financial planning? What does it mean to talk about savings and investment? What does it mean to talk about how to prepare your scholar with having a nice academic study table at home, because they need that quiet place to study? Parents need to understand that and know that from day one, and not day 101 when it's time to graduate.
Yeah. And look, I mean, everything you said, just, it screams that parents should walk hand in hand with their young scholars. And I love the word intentional, because whenever I have the opportunity and the benefit of speaking with young professionals or students, so you should never apologize for great intentions. Right. And you should shoot for the moon. And if anyone asks, it's not your responsibility to couch it or to hide your ambitions. Shoot for the stars, shoot for the moon, be intentional. Mm-hmm. And so as we look at these tests, and they are a pathway towards financial aid, Jowan, let me ask you this. Scholarships are the golden goose, they're great, but there are only so many, and there's only so many dollars given. We have 2 generations now of Americans who are being buried under crippling college loan debt. Right. Should young enterprising students pursue loans and not just scholarships or grants or work study?
So my whole story started from me helping my daughter when she was in middle school. We started those college visits in 8th grade. So we started the dialogue early. And so for me, I was looking long-term, like, I don't have the finances for college, and I did not want to take any loans. I was working on my credit. So didn't want to take no loans. So for me, I always say, put those loans on the back burner. Like, that is the last thing to think about, because there are opportunities for scholarships as young as 9th grade if you start applying early. There are organizations that you can start applying for those scholarships very, very early. And then I'm really big on internships and shadowing. So you're building these relationships with these organizations, and a lot of organizations have scholarship dollars. So once you're building those relationships, you have to be able to work every angle. I'm all about networking. So you connect with this organization, this CEO, this president. It could even be this mother that worked at this law firm as a part of this fraternity and this sorority. You have to work every angle. Anything not happening. I don't talk about loans at all, because I don't want to take a loan. So we're going to use, Cleveland is full of people that are connected to other people. So even if you have to go and talk to the principal or the guidance counselor to find out, who do you think would be a good fit for me for a mentor or somebody that I could shadow, because those are opportunities not only for scholarships, but when you're talking about internships for when you go to college or when you come home for summers from college. Because what are you going to do? You got to work.
Yeah.
So we're looking at the whole picture to avoid having to take that loan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. I
That.
was going to just jump in and say, listen, because I would always tell students and parents, I was like, listen, I don't have $1 million, but I know 1 million people with $1. And so the idea with that is basically that whole idea of networking. You know, networking is so key to making sure that, you know, because again, someone knows somebody with a resource that can help you. You know, whether it's just from, you know, just even so much the fact, you know, we even help with you know, there's a group of alumni from HBCUs right here in Cleveland who believe in the fact of giving back and supporting young people who want to go to HBCUs. They will even work together and help pay for students' application fees, because that could be a burden, or that could be a burden on parents as well. And so we partner with a company called the Common Black College Application. One application, it goes to 67 historically Black colleges. The cost is only $20, but alumni, they'll try to, you know, we're going to just eliminate that debt from a parent, and they're going to partner, they're going to rally together, they're going to add up their coins, they're going to get sponsors and partners and all this to pay for that, just so students be able to sell. So we can just take that excuse and that burden out of the equation.
Yeah. And it's a crippling burden. It can affect your life. It can affect your ability to build wealth for yourself. You know, I know I paid for some of my loans until I was, you know, almost 40 years old. It's insanity. Yeah. Let me ask you this, Anthony. I'll lead in with you. Do you think that this mountain of debt and the way technology has really shaped industries now, do you observe, or do you think there is a shifting mindset among young students questioning the value of the traditional 4-year college education and a changing horizon or a broader spectrum of what I should be doing for myself and what my educational path should be?
Yes, I mean, because Jowan was already not her head, but yes, because a lot of young people now, because of technology, and what's been happening over these last several years, I'm not going to say it's diminished the thought of maybe do I even need to go to college, but I think I think it's forcing, or it's challenging institutions of higher learning, public or private, 2-year, 4-year, in-state, out-of-state, HBCU, PWI, it doesn't matter. It's challenging institutions to be more creative, more thought-provoking, more intentional about trying to connect the dots to students to help them fulfill their lifelong dream and passion. You know, what does it mean now to be an entrepreneur? I mean, I don't think that was even so much the thought process when I was going to school, but now I do have a small business outside of my day job, but that wasn't the thought back then. But more and more young people are now saying, well, I can just start my own business. You know, I could be this content creator. I can do this. I can do things and be creative and be crafty without ever having to go to college. But then at the same time, you know, the college has to make sure they understand, like, well, maybe they need to be more liberal arts focused, or maybe they need a more concentration and learn more of the technology and the trades and the skill that they weren't telling the story before. But now, like, oh no, we can still help you do that, but we got a different path we can go. I mean, now I'm looking now, you got a lot of people now, young people now want to go into esports. I mean, whoever thought that electronic sports or just playing video games was now, you could get paid to do that.
Yeah.
So schools have to create programming to address and support an esports kind of program.
Yeah.
And I think I'm definitely seeing a shift. A lot of young people, they want instant money. So what they learned during the pandemic was, I can go buy this little t-shirt press machine and make money. I could go out here and make me some lip gloss. I can make candles. So they've all found these different kind of pockets where they don't feel they need to go and get that debt of going into college. They can figure it out on their own. And then, as one college professor told me, how can they compete with Amazon? Amazon paying $15 an hour. with full benefits. I mean, at 18, you can have full benefits with no debt and get paid and work as much overtime as you want. So now there are so many other opportunities. People are getting more into the trades. People are flocking to the community colleges now because they have programming that's pretty much free if you're in a certain income bracket. So the four-year colleges is a big struggle, and people that did go away, the pandemic babies, I call them, that 2020 class, they went there and it was ghost town. It was not what you see on the movies. It wasn't glamorous. And so most of them came home, and they came home and started working. So now you get money in the bank. So why would I give up my money in the bank to go and sit and pay you a loan for 4 years? So it's kind of a tug and pull right now with a lot of the younger people.
Absolutely. So what about this patriarchy about these levels of educational achievement correlating to higher incomes? What do you say to that?
They don't see that. They see instant money. You talking about somebody that can get on TikTok for an hour. You get on TikTok for an hour, can make a couple $100 if people tap the screen. So, I mean, they have opportunities that we didn't have. And it's right. You don't even have to leave the house. You don't even have to use any gas in your car. And you can make money just doing something that you think is fun, something creative that we would have never even considered a skill. So they're not really caring about master's degree because they don't want to be a doctor. They don't want to be a teacher. They don't want to do that. They want instant money.
Yeah. And are traditional educational institutions supporting this? Are they keeping up with it?
They're struggling. They're struggling. You see a lot of schools. I see Akron just posted a new program that they're putting in. It's a tech program. So the schools are trying to pivot very quick so that they can pick up those tech babies and say, yes, you can learn this and do this on your own, but we can help get you to the next level if you come get this bachelor's degree. But they're trying to catch up with what TikTok did to the world during the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so fascinating because I hear that there's this, it just seems like there's less structure now. And, maybe being a 40-something, I want structure. And I have to understand that young students are living they're not living in an analog world. They're living in a non-linear world. And why should education and the way they see it be any different from how they live the rest of their lives? I do want to dive in on and really explore the world of HBCUs, because I think it's such a strong network for students that they might not know the full extent of the benefits. So President Brown, sing praise to the HBCU.
Listen, so first of all, I love the fact when people like to ask that question, and I love to be able to share the quick story about the fact that how HBCUs even got started in the first place. And we can go back to the Civil War to the mid 1800s for the very first HBCU, Cheney University in Pennsylvania, that started this whole idea, because before we could go into some of the institutions that, the schools that we know of today, there were the schools like Cheney and Lincoln and our very own Wilberforce University right here in Ohio, that, the first private HBCU founded by freed slaves right after the Civil War. Understand the fact that these schools were designed for, in most cases, by African Americans, because we couldn't go anyplace else. I like to tell the story so often. It's not like I'm not making this up. It's a true fact. Dr. W.E. Du Bois once said, had it not been for the Negro college and school, the Negro would, for all intent and purpose, been driven back into slavery, because we couldn't go anyplace else. Now, understand, like I said, we date back to the Civil War until now, but we didn't get the moniker or the nickname or the initials HBCU until 1964. It was because of the Higher Education Act in 1965, when it was signed by Lyndon B. Johnson, the President of the United States, and the United States Congress at that time, who decided, hey, wait a minute, these Negro schools and colleges are doing something, and we need to. I don't know if it was because it was out of pressure of the civil rights movement. I'm not teaching critical race theory. I'm just saying what I'm saying. But something significant was happening in our country in the 1960s. And the government had to address it and had to acknowledge what was going on. So with that, this Higher Education Act decided from the Congress saying in order to be a historically Black housing university, you had to, one, educate African Americans, but you could not exclude anybody. But what was happening to African Americans in 1965? Then you had to be accredited by some accrediting association. Again, the accrediting association had a lot of hoops, had a lot of challenges that we had to adhere to. Not because we said it, it was just what we had to endure. And then we had to be founded before 1964. It's because of those three things we got the name or the label HBCU. And like I always like to tell my families or parents or students, whoever I'm talking to, for me, labels belong on jars and not people. However, we took your label, United States government, and we made it work for our good. Now, HBCUs are the end thing. Now you can't go anywhere without hearing the significant contributions that these schools have been providing against since the Civil War till now. Now, I always go back and say this real quickly because I love to tell the story. So thank you. In 1944, now understand, in 1944, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, the founder of Bethune-Cookman University, my founder, and Dr. Frederick Patterson, who was the president then of Tuskegee Institute, which is now Tuskegee University, they had this great idea. Hey, why don't we work together and raise money for our Negro schools because nobody else is supporting us? So they got together, and in 1944, we founded the United Negro College Fund to help students get to and through college. Now, we are the second largest supporter of students of color for scholarships and resources outside of the federal government. And again, 1944 is when we started. We go back to the pre-Civil War when HBCU started. And then all of a sudden, we got the label HBCU in 1965. I'm gonna let y'all figure that out from there on there. But that's the quick short of it. But since then until now, we've been doing a great job. We are this hidden jewel for many of our people that don't know. We provide the same quality education as any other institution across the country. It just puts our students on an equal competitive playing field, and it prepares you for the next level. By the time I left Bethune-Cookman University in Daytona Beach, Florida, and the home of the world's most famous beach, by the time I got to my PWI for graduate school, I got a B for the very first time and got an attitude. Like, I don't get a B. What is this? But it challenged me, and it made me seem like, oh my God, not say it got easy, but it's like I'm prepared now. I can walk into the real world or any place else and be just as competitive, just as good as, if not better than anybody else.
Right, incredible. Incredible. I love it. I love your passion. I love your candor. Jowan, what do students get at an HBCU that they wouldn't get at any other liberal arts college?
Listen, man, listen.
I'm going to say, I'll give you one example of what my daughter went to a PWI, my son went to a HBCU.
I'm going to eat my popcorn while she tells this story.
My daughter on her campus had one staff of color. It was an issue. Yeah. One staff of color. They had an organization for the Black students, but they got no funding, no support from the college. My son went to a HBCU, complete opposite. It was people that looked like him. The staff looked like him. When he had issues, he had someone he could go and talk to, and they understood, where he came from. The curriculum was set up a little bit different. The sports, the activities, the environment was just different. So my daughter actually ended up leaving the PWI because how can you, as a young Black woman, be at a school where there is no one that looks like you and you're having real life happen and you don't have anyone to talk to? So for me, that was a major issue. And I always tell parents, when you're looking at these schools, ask about the staff. That's important because you're not there as a parent. So you can ask how many staff of color. And I'm not talking about the people in the cafeteria. I'm talking about the people in the administrative office, because those people in the admissions office, they have something to do with if you can get in there or not. So you need to know what those people look like and what that means for your scholar, because they have to live there. You don't.
Yes, yes. I love that story. I love that because I had a similar story with a student. She received a partial scholarship to go to, well, I won't say the name of the institution, but it's here in Ohio, a predominantly white institution, a partial scholarship on the Minority Scholars Program. About 2 years later, she came back to visit me. Hey, Mr. Brown, so how's school and all that great? All this great. I said, what are you doing now? Well, she joined the Black Student Union. She joined the Black Gospel Choir. She lived in the dormitory with most of the Black folks. She joined the Black sorority. She did everything African-American. I said, but you said you went to go to this institution for the diversity. But she had a full ride to go to Spelman. Mm. And you're still coming out of pocket. She had to take a loan to pay for it. But you had a full ride. Now, mind you, again, we are just historically Black. We've never discriminated against anybody because we couldn't, because the government said in 1965 we couldn't.
That's right.
We can't. We were not allowed to discriminate. Even though we were discriminated against, we were not allowed to. So we've always had our doors open to everybody. Yep. Our faculty and staff is diverse. Our student population is diverse. Matter of fact, we have 2 historically Black colleges now that are primarily non-African American. They're more than 70% non-African American. But because they meet those 3 qualifiers, 1964, accredited and educate everybody, they will always have that HBCU designation. Now, made it special for most of us when we go to HBCU is that family environment. Listen, I used to always, I'm gonna see if y'all get this. I'm gonna pretend, imagine if I was Steve Harvey. And we got the number 1 question on the board. You got one answer. Who can be your best friend and your worst enemy in your household? You only got one answer. What do you think it is?
Yourself.
No, it's got to be somebody else who can be your best friend and your worst enemy in your household. Not you.
Not you.
Number 1 answer.
Jowan, you're the expert.
I don't know that, Joe. I don't know.
Answer is your mother. Because no one's going to treat you like your mom, but your mom.
Yeah.
At HBCUs, we become that mother figure. Mm. We will take care of you like you are one of our very own. You are part of the family. As alumni, we just had a reception about a week ago. We had a reception for all students from Northeast Ohio who were headed to HBCU. We had about 40 students who showed up in their families, and we just wanted to let them know we want to welcome you all to your new home because now we are now a part of your extended family. And we're going to take care of you as much as we can and be able to help see you to and through, even as alum. But once you get on campus, you're going to find that mother, you're going to find that professor, you're going to find that advisor, and they're going to be there every step of the way. I have one of my college advisors, she still texts, now it's been 30 years since I've been out of college. She still sends me a text message every morning. Family.
Yeah.
They're going to watch out for you. If you're sick, you're hungry, you need to go to the store, you want to go to church, whatever it is. I had a professor, the nerve of her. Now, mind you, this is my freshman year. I was in my dorm watching Young and the Restless. Have you ever watched Young and the Restless? When Victor Nimmer wears all black, you know it's about to go down. I'm for real. Because it was getting good, and I was like, I didn't want to miss my stories. I grew up watching Young and the Restless with my grandmother. I had to see what was going on because I was hooked. 12:30, and I was supposed to be in an English class, and I didn't go.
Uh-oh.
The professor, Marion Baker, was her name. She was from Columbus, Ohio. She called the dorm. This is before we had pay phones, before we had phones, before we had cell phones. We didn't have phones in our room. She called the dormitory office. They paged me down to the front office and said, you got a phone call. I'm like, who calling me on the dorm phone? I'm like, who? And I didn't catch the voice. Hey, how you doing? I'm fine. What you doing? Watching TV. Child Vic and Newman got on all black. It's about to go down. I don't know what's going on. Catherine is doing something. Nikki on some. She tripping again. Nick and Victoria doing something crazy. Victor, he about to go down. She said, "Boy, you got 5 minutes to get your butt to class."
Oh, see.
Your mother did not send you 1,000 miles from home. And she knew because she's from Columbus. She said she did not send you 1,000 miles from home to watch the stories. I needed that Miss Baker in my life.
Well, I was going to say a mother's love is always the exact type of love you need at that moment. They give the love you need at that moment.
I needed that. Oh my God. I never missed her class again. Trust me, I never missed her class again. I was there. Then I would start volunteering to listen. I kind of got off of Young Lessons for a moment. I got back on it later. But the fact was, I never knew what happened. I missed that episode because I didn't know what happened. But the fact was, I needed a Miss Baker in my life. And I guarantee you, you talk to any, even if you talk to Jowan's kids now, they've got a professor or someone who latched on to them, who made sure they got through because somebody had to sweat, make it happen, do what they had to do to get you there.
Right.
And we're not wasting nobody's money.
Right.
That's not what we're gonna do. Because I told the students and the parents last week, listen, you part of my family now. If I pop up on an HBCU campus and I say I'm here, the expectation is you better come see where I'm at, because basically if I say I'm on your campus, I'm gonna take care of you. We're gonna go to lunch, we're gonna go to Walmart, we're gonna make that run to the grocery store because you're part of my family now. I'm gonna take care of you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What a journey this. We host these every single month, and we tackle some admittedly very difficult, very ugly topics at times. I can honestly say, and I know all of our people at the Cleveland Public Library will echo this. This has been so enjoyable, enlightening, and entertaining. And I want to I want to grab the popcorn so I can have the popcorn. You pontificate.
I came with the snacks because I was ready for it. I'm ready for all of the goodness.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to give the final word to Jowan. For students out there, we have gone through the standardized tests and your philosophies on whether or not you should take them, how to prepare for them, what types of financial aid you could seek, resources that are out there, and the great benefit of schools like Bethune-Cookman. If you are talking directly to a young scholar and their family right now, Jowan, what do you say? What is your number one message to students out there as they approach this graduation from high school and they enter into the great beyond?
Do not put too much pressure on yourself. It is not, you're going to college, so you're about to be adulting. And adulting is something that even adults struggle with. So do not put too much pressure on yourself, but always hold yourself accountable, especially when it comes to understanding who you are as a person. So if you're not a morning person, do not schedule a morning class. If you know that you want to play sport, make sure you go to sleep at night. Don't stay out on the quad and hang out with your friends. You got to hold yourself accountable because your parent, your guardian, your grandmother, they're not going to be there with you. So this is your moment. This is your moment. If you need help, ask for it. And do not be on what I call the LBJ plan, the leave by January. You can do it. Just remember, do not do the LBJ. Do not leave by January. Quitting is not an option.
Not an option. Absolutely. Anthony, anything in brief that you may like to add?
I mean, that was funny. I love that. LBJ. Leave, don't leave by January. Oh my God. I'm about to borrow that one, baby. Listen. I'm gonna borrow that. I would say to any student, as they're thinking about, where they want, especially if they want to go to an HBCU, think about the fact that, I would say take the leap of faith, try it. Listen, nothing beats a failure but a try. If you can change your environment, you can change your life. Just because for some students, this is all you know is Cleveland, Ohio, or whatever city you may be watching this from right now. It's okay to step out on faith. You've been comfortable, you've been complacent, you've been in the same place for the past 4, 5, 6 years, depending on what high school, middle school you've been through. But now it's time for something new. And the only way you're going to be able to see what that new is just to step out on faith. I understand it's a lot of anxiety. It's a lot of just unknowns. But listen, nothing beats a failure but a try. But you just got to go out there and just try it. Now don't come back in January.
Nope.
Don't do that. Because you got to stick it out. You got to see it through. I would tell students, I heard a principal say this the other day to some students. He wanted to challenge his students, and it was so eloquently said. He said, "If a task is once begun, never leave it until it is done. Be the labor great or small, do it well or not at all."
Amen. Amen. What a great pair of points to leave on. I thank you both so much for this, and I can't wait to share this on our social media channels. This will live on the Cleveland Public Library's Facebook page, of course, and on its YouTube page. It can be a resource, and it can be entertainment in perpetuity for families as they seek to move and take that next step. So, for Ms. Jowan Smith and for President Anthony Brown, thank you both so much. And for everyone at the Cleveland Public Library here at 19 News, I'm Chris Tanaka. Thanks for joining this digital discussion panel. We'll see you back here next month.